Now, the man with the plan in George Grove's corner last Saturday was Adam Booth. He also trains David Hay. He's currently working with Hay in preparation for the July 2nd showdown in Hamburg with Vladimir Klitschko. Now, last Saturday, it was all about George, and I'm delighted to say that Adam, who's picked up a new nickname recently, joins me now. Adam, how are you?
I'm fine, thanks.
First of all, Adam, George was talking there. Could it have gone any better for you two last weekend?
Sorry, say that again, Steve.
Could it have gone any better for you two last Saturday?
No, it was what we prepared for, and then for it to happen, it just led to a lot of celebration, a lot of satisfaction.
Yeah. Now, George was talking about, not fighting James immediately and doing several things. And Frank Warren was on there, understandably, as the promoter with James, saying, "I'd like to see it happen." Where do you sit on it at the moment, Adam? At nearly 8:25 on the Thursday after the fight.
They need it more than anything, and we don't need it at all.
Oh, so it would take even an awful lot of money, or it just won't happen next time round.
Financially, the money isn't there at the moment to make the rematch happen.
Sure.
Remember, Steve, they're both babies in boxing senses.
Yeah, exactly.
On Saturday it was 10 fights and 12 fights each. They're boxing babies that have just had a big event, a very tight fight, very technical fight, a close fight that ended up with a winner and a loser. But they've both got to go away and work on other things rather than just working on fighting each other, because if they keep working on fighting each other, they're only going to limit their progression.
Yeah.
So they've got to both go away, improve, both carry on winning, and then later down the line, it'll be even bigger than it was last Saturday.
Yeah, well, that's, before the fight, that was, I tended to think, actually, before the fight, as much as I was looking forward to it, that it was a bit early for both of them. I'm glad to say that it was a fantastic fight, and they can both continue. But you're right about it. I think they both need 2 or 3 fights, 18 months or 12 months, and get it back together. Now, Adam, was there any point in the fight where you concerned, when George was caught a little bit in the ninth? I know that James trod on his foot, and when he had the 2 cuts, was there any panic or even mild sort of alarm bells going off in your head at any time? No,
I mean, when you work with someone day in, day out, and you see them in lots of different situations, you know when they're together, and you know when they're showing signs of distress. And George never once showed any signs of distress. The thing, interestingly, the thing you pointed out there, what happened in the 9th round, is that actually James stood on George's foot,
that's right,
and actually headbutted him in the face. The punch didn't land, and when you watch the fight again, you'll realise that it's his headbutt that hit George in the face, and then because he trod on his foot, George stumbled back. And obviously at the time, from the angle I was at, I couldn't see that it was a headbutt to the face. I saw that later, but instantly I saw George stumble, regain his back leg strength, and knew then that it wasn't her and that he was still there doing what he had to do.
Were you surprised, Adam? I know you planned for what, you pulled off, you planned for something and you pulled it off. But were you surprised that, James didn't step it up and didn't try just a little bit more variety? Were you even a little bit surprised by that? I'm assuming you had a bit of a plan B lined up. Were you surprised they never used theirs?
The thing is, James won't throw the second punch if James won't throw a shot if it's not a counter or if it's not started by his jab touching out first.
Okay.
And George, so all we had to work on was taking his jab away and then making him make the first move, and that left him in no man's land. But he needs to go away and understand that. That's what he has become over and over again. And you look at all of his fights as a pro, every attack he does, he starts by touching out his southpaw jab,
and then letting go,
people off, and then following it. So you take away the first one, you automatically take away the second one. And then as long as George didn't get too crazy making the lead sometimes, where James could then become the counter-puncher, no, George controlled the fight and controlled the action.
Yeah, in some ways, it was a very simple plan. One of the most basic plans out there. Take away your opponent's jab.
But boxing is a simple sport. If you look at it, in a simple fashion, what you got to do is you got to look at what the other fella can do well, nullify it, and then apply what you can do well. I mean, easier said than done, I know, because if it was easy as that, I wouldn't angst and obsess over it every day. But basically, that's how we look at things.
And it's so. Now, Adam, this nickname that they're throwing around about you online, the Dark Lord, which I'm assuming is reference to the Star Wars. That means you're a member of the Sith, which would make your enemies, i.e. Frank Warren and everybody else, Jedis. Are you happy with being part of the Sith as opposed to the Jedi Fellowship?
Sorry, man. I don't know. I've never watched any Star Wars films, so I don't know. I just think it's funny.
The Dark Lord. I mean, you're not bothered. I mean, I must admit, it's quite an amusing nickname to have.
If I thought my nickname was going to be Nookie Bear at one point, so I'll take the Dark Lord over Nookie Bear.
Hey, listen, definitely take the Dark Lord over Nookie Bear. Listen, Adam, it's been a delight the last few years watching you triumph with your stable of fighters, and it will be a delight on July the 2nd in Hamburg when David demolishes Vladimir Klitschko. Adam, thanks so much for your time.
Thanks, Steve. Take care, mate.
No, my pleasure. That's Adam Booth talking a little bit earlier. Now, emails now. Nick Dine sent this to the BBC address. Said, James looked shocked when he entered the ring. I imagine a psychological blow like that may have cost him a round. Naz's taunting, Nick continues, was mostly good natured. Remember, there was a lot of angry stuff, and a lot of well done George emails have been coming in. But Dave in Horsham adds a twist. He writes, my pal John Dolby's baby daughter Isla couldn't sleep on Saturday night. She was impressed with George's performance. Dave, that was nothing to do with George's performance. That was to do with the fact that you and John and about a dozen others probably had about 3 dozen beers.